Indie games are my favourite genre, and I have played hundreds of them over the years. Of course, some stand out more than others, and for me, one of those games is Pinstripe. Pinstripe is a unique little puzzle adventure game developed by Thomas Brush and published by Armour Games. You play as Ted, an ex-minister on a mission to save his daughter from an evil character called Pinstripe, who appears as a shadowy figure throughout the game. Now, being an achievement hunter, when I first fell in love with this game 6 months ago, I obviously tried to collect all the achievements. However, there was one trophy that made me quit. This was the Pinstripe God achievement for completing the entire game without taking a single hit of damage. In order to accomplish this, I would need to complete the game start to finish on a totally new save file and somehow not take any damage from enemies or from failing jumps/falling. This was a lot easier said than done, but this achievement has literally been haunting me, so without further ado, let's get into the challenge. We start off on a train, and after completing a few simple puzzles and moving to the right, we have our first run-in with Pinstripe, who makes some interesting comments towards our daughter Bo.
Oh, I like your dress.
Let's go, literally let's go here. Upon leaving the next room, Bo runs off and is kidnapped by Pinstripe. Shortly after this, the train crashes, leaving Ted stranded in Edgewood, which is the first proper area of the game. The first thing we do in Edgewood is move towards the left of the screen and jump on some mushrooms to reach an area with a familiar face that a lot of you may recognise.
Hey!
We jump on the branch he was hanging from, causing him to fall, which allows us to make our way back down and take the sack that he was drinking. The sacks are a very prominent part of the game. They are produced by Pinstripe himself and they seem to give the characters a drunken effect. After collecting the sack, we make our way back over to the left and have a conversation with Mr. Dickey, who informs us that Pinstripe has taken Bo to the Hangley house, but we would have no chance at getting her back without a weapon. To solve this issue, we feed the giant tree in his backyard a sack, complete some simple platforming, and pick up the slingshot at the top. The slingshot will act as our only weapon for majority of the game, and it can be improved by collecting little red mushrooms from broken vases, boxes, or barrels. Now that we have the slingshot, we are able to shoot down a log, which gains us access to the next area, the Hangley Pass, where we once again bang into Pinstripe. In this area, we push 3 buttons and free our dog, George, who will accompany us for the rest of the game and help find clues. After freeing George, we make our way to the Hangley house, only to find out that Bo was not in fact here. Mr. Dickey had just tricked us into freeing his wife Birdie, who Pinstripe had trapped in a cage. We managed to break the cage and free Birdie, but before moving on, I spent a few minutes listening to a record player. This was important as listening to all 3 of these would allow me to unlock a much better weapon later on in the game. After listening to the record player, we drop down and confront Mr. Dickey, who apologises and tells us that Pinstripe has taken Bo to Redwash, but in order to reach Redwash, we would require a head torch to make it through the cave. On our way back to get the head torch is where we come across our first scary moment. I had to defeat an enemy known as the Little Sister by jumping on it 6 times. Luckily for me, this wasn't too difficult and we got past this section of the game okay. It was now time to head back to the toy box, type in a code and unlock the head torch, which would allow us to access the cave. And after another run-in with Pinstripe, we had to complete a puzzle before coming across our next challenge, the barrel jump. Now the platforming in this game isn't great, so I was really nervous about making it across these barrels, but to my relief, I managed. Okay, I'm nervous. Directly after that stressful jump, we have to fight another Little Sister. This one is a little harder because it's easy to bang your head on the boxes above you. This run was going so well, so this definitely got my heart rate going a little bit, but we were able to defeat the Little Sister without much trouble and progress to the next area. In this area, we completed an easy Flappy Bird type mini game and turned the gas valves back on, which would allow us to go back through the areas and gather more frozen drops. Unfortunately, this is where it all goes wrong. In order to go back to Hangley Pass, I once again had to complete the barrel jump. Problem is, it's way harder going back the way. Let's just do it. Boom! So yeah, this is where I had my first fail of the challenge. This was a little frustrating, but I didn't dwell on it for too long, as I obviously didn't expect to complete the challenge first try. I deleted my save file and jumped into attempt 2, which went even worse. Okay, walk in. Whoa. Anyway, on to attempt 3, where we make it past the dodgy barrel jump, complete a fun balloon popping minigame, and manage to collect 300 frozen drops, which will come in handy later when we have to purchase a ticket to Redwash. After purchasing the ticket and hopping into the cart, I was starting to feel really nervous. We were nearing the end of the game and I had yet to take a single hit of damage, but the hardest part was yet to come. The first thing we do once we arrive in Redwash is collect a spoon and a fork, which will act as clock handles and allow us to change the time. I changed the time to 8:10 PM, as that is the time that Happy's store is open. After speaking to Happy, he agrees to give us the pin to Pinstripe's house in exchange for 10 sacks, which we would have to obtain from killing enemies. Unfortunately, the enemies only spawned at a certain time, but after completing a couple more Flappy Bird type mini-games and picking up the clues, we found out that the enemies would be delivering the sacks at 2:30 AM. We change the clock to 2:30 and retrieve all 10 sacks. We also listen to the last record player and unlock the Songbird rifle, which is a much better weapon and would make taking out enemies much easier from this point onwards. Now equipped with everything we needed, it was finally time to face Pinstripe. I returned to Happy's store, traded him 10 sacks for the clue, entered the code to Pinstripe's lair and went on up. This is the moment that we are finally reunited with our daughter Bo, but I think it's safe to say that something's definitely a little different with her. After having a conversation with Bo, I shot the mirror and began my boss fight against Pinstripe. Now this boss fight isn't even remotely difficult, but not getting hit was still a lot of pressure, and unfortunately this led to me taking damage right at the end of the game. In fact, this boss fight ruined a lot of my runs. And I mean a lot. By this point in the challenge, after so many failed attempts, I was so frustrated that I was genuinely ready to just give up. However, I decided to take a break for a few days instead. I returned to this challenge 4 days later and started up another playthrough. Right, let's give it another bash. This run went exceptionally well, all up until Redwash, where I ran into a major problem. For some reason, the Songbird rifle just wouldn't unlock, which meant that I would have to fight Pinstripe with the slingshot, which is drastically worse. My heart was racing throughout the entire boss fight, but against all odds, this happened. Yep, that's right, finally. Not only had I completed the entire game without being hit, I completed the entire game with the slingshot. After defeating Pinstripe, we move to the right, reunite with our daughter Bo and finish up the game, popping the Pinstripe God achievement. Yes! Oh my god! And with that, the credits roll and this challenge comes to an end. Pinstripe is a unique, humorous game with an emotional plot twist and interesting characters. Despite being a fairly simple game, this challenge was much harder than I ever could have anticipated, and it made for a pretty fun video. I would highly recommend this game to anyone watching. If you made it this far in the video, thank you so much, I really appreciate it, and if you enjoyed, feel free to check out my other videos and maybe even like and subscribe. As a small channel, it helps me out a lot. Thank you so much for watching and I'll see you in the next one.